Once again, welcome to Cloud Modernization. We will be accelerating with AWS. Thank you everyone for joining. We'll be led by Kenechukwu Nzute, who is our cloud manager here at Lotus Beta Analytics. Lotus Beta Analytics is the one who is spearheading this event, making it possible today in partnership with Redington and AWS. So we'll be speaking about strategies to adopt for everyone who is on AWS Cloud or who wants to begin to use AWS Cloud to understand, how to use it, where to, come in, and how best to go ahead with it. So I'll be handing over to Kenechukwu now, who will take us through what we have, and I would come back to discuss the benefits and the package which is coming for everyone who will sign up for the financing, AWS financing, partner financing. All right. Thank you very much. Over to you, Kenechukwu.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. My name is Kenechukwu Nzute, Cloud Solution Architect. Today, this webinar is all about how to modernize and accelerate with AWS Cloud. So here we will be learning different strategies on cloud modernization with respect to AWS. And we also see use case examples for each of these strategies. And also the benefits for customers for that. Yeah. So for introduction, so it is very evident that most organizations are moving to the cloud because of the numerous advantages which the cloud poses when compared to on-prem or having a dedicated server, paying for a dedicated server. So the cloud also gives you flexibility and also some of the different services which you can also use from the cloud to optimize your application or to modernize your application in a way for business to grow. So this that we have lifts and shifts. We also have the refactor or rebuild strategy. We also have the replatform, the re-architect, and also the hybrid strategy. We'll go in depth to see how these strategies can help organizations improve their application performance, also reduce cost, increase scalability, and also increase the agility. Because one of the benefits of going to the cloud is for the agility which it offers. So for lift and shifts approach is basically to move your existing workloads or applications that you have on-prem to the cloud without making any change in there. So let's assume that you have a server, a private server, a shared hosting server that you have what's it called? You have some application running on some server. So you can easily migrate it using a lift and shift approach. And it makes use of a tool called AWS Application Migration Service. AWS Migration Application Service automatically converts your source servers to run natively on AWS service. So it has an agent which it will install on the source end. Then this agent will help in replicating the environment and also configuring it inside the AWS environment to run seamlessly. So it will lift your OS, the application inside, and also the database seamlessly. So we also have the refactor approach. The refactor approach helps you to modify and optimize your applications and to take advantage of cloud native services and features. So cloud native services and features such like, let's say you already have your workloads on the cloud, AWS, and you would like to move from using an EC2 instance to making use of Elastic Beanstalk, such service. Yeah. So refactor approach gives you that scalability whereby you move your code and you just need to have your code stored on a version control client like GitHub, Bitbucket, and integrate that seamlessly with Elastic Beanstalk that you refactored. So the Elastic Beanstalk will you no longer have the headache of managing your underlying servers, OS, and all that. So you are just interested in developing your code, your application, just bringing your code. And it also offers the ability of using something like a Lambda function. So below here, you can see some of the services which also points to this refactor approach. You can use something like Lambda function to execute some messaging, you can use Lambda function to execute some application whereby you only need those application or some processes to run at a peak period. So Lambda function might also work with SNS, that simple notification service, whereby you have to trigger an event. Let's say you want to specify that your application if your application has if your application hits an overhead of traffic, let's say 1,000 users, and this is likely going to slow down your application, that you should spin up more instances of your application. So you can integrate SNS and Lambda function to do that for you. So you just need to, your code is being hosted in Lambda function. So whenever such events happens, Lambda function will automatically create another instance of the application so that it can withhold the traffic being sent to it. And you also have DynamoDB, whereby you can also switch from using MySQL database to a DynamoDB for its automatical scaling ability. So the next one is rebuild. So the rebuild approach is totally, let's say you have an on-prem application and you want to totally configure everything from, you don't want to mimic exact same pattern. Let's say you have a server and you want, like for the lift and shift, um, lift and shift has, let's say you have a server, so equivalent to a server in AWS is EC2, it will spin up an EC2. But here in the application, in the rebuild approach, the rebuild approach is that you are not making use of your current architecture, your current digital estate. Like we can see here, we have application server, database server, and file server. But here, if you want to use the rebuild approach, we are moving from monolithic application to a microservice application, whereby you can use something like an API gateway to gradually rebuild and use modernized approach for your application. So you can use the API gateway to you can use the API gateway to first of all connect to this your on-prem server. So from the API gateway, you gradually replace each services. Like for the database layer, for database server, you can make use of Amazon DynamoDB. For the file server, you make use of Azure Amazon S3 buckets, sorry, or Amazon file server. So for Lambda function, you also make use of the equivalent. So this is what the rebuild approach is all about. That means you are not making a replica of the exact type of architecture. You are making use of a different one and microservices, which gives each application a you have a microservice that will handle the payment, the gateway for payment. Let's say for an instance of a financial service. So this microservice we handle for payment. This other one we also have a microservice for dashboard, and also different microservices which you can integrate together. So we have the next one. The next one is re-architect. So re-architect approach is completely redesigning your application to take full of cloud services. And also, let's take for an example, it also makes use of modernizing your application to make it more scalable, flexible, and cost-effective. So for the re-architect approach, it is already known that you are already using AWS services. Like here, we have for the app here, can see that this customer is using an EC2 instance, but this EC2 instance runs on .NET 4.s on EC2 instance. You have .NET um, .NET installed here. So you want to make use of the modernized approach. That's using a container so that you reduce the overhead of every time you need to install the dependency for one or two whenever you want to install an EC2 instance for this your particular type of application. So the React approach, making use of a service called apt container, it will help to containerize your application inside this EC2 instance. So this will also make use of Amazon ECS, Elastic Container Service, or you can also make use of AWS Fargate, which which is a serverless approach to manage your containers. So you can also make use of Lambda function. That's after you must have make use of app to container to containerize this application and have the container version or the container file of it. Can use that to deploy on Amazon ECS. So this is also a microservice approach. So for the data tier, it is known that this customer is also making use of Amazon RDS, maybe Amazon RDS for SQL. Then the customer will now make use of for you to re-architect this to make use of the modernized approach. That's making use of Amazon Aurora for SQL for MySQL. So Amazon Aurora. Okay, somebody is in the lobby. So for Amazon Aurora gives has a better advantage when compared to Amazon RDS, whereby it has this auto-scaling approach, whereby it can create multiple instances of a database whenever there is a peak period or heavy heat on the database layer. So you can make use of Amazon DMS, database migration service, to migrate from Amazon RDS to Amazon Aurora. Now, Amazon Aurora also has Amazon Postgres. It has different varieties, just like on Amazon RDS, we have Amazon RDS for MySQL, Postgres, and all that. Same thing also occurs in Amazon Aurora. So for the hybrid, sorry, this is supposed to be hybrid. Okay, for the hybrid approach, sorry for the mistake here, it's supposed to be hybrid. For the hybrid approach, we make use of the hybrid approach is when when the customer wants to fully optimize usage of using your on-prem, you still want to maintain your on-prem services or your on-prem some of your on-prem estates, and also you want to utilize making use of the cloud. Let's say a customer still wants to make use of their server or their server on-prem. They don't want to move everything to the cloud, maybe because of compliance, governance, and compliance, and they want to retain this data. They want to have a copy of this data on their own environment. Most you can usually find this in most financial services or healthcare services, and also government parastatals. So, and they also want to make use of cloud because you have to also plan for disaster recovery and business continuity whenever there's an incident. So this customer can say, okay, let's back up or let's replicate our environment to the cloud. So they can make use of what is called Amazon Outpost, Amazon Direct Connect, to establish a site-to-site connection from the on-prem environment to the AWS cloud. So here, this is just a replica of making use of a backing up to an Amazon RDS, whereby you have an AWS storage gateway that enables this backup to the cloud. So let's talk about the use cases of these strategies. For lift and shift approach, which makes use of server migration service, which is now server migration service, I think from March 31st, it has been deprecated to some certain regions. So the new approach is now to make use of application migration service. And we also have the link to the documentation if you want to learn more about them. So for the application server migration service or the application migration service, they still work hand in hand. So they just help you to replicate your on-prem environment to the cloud without changing anything. So it's just a lift and shift whereby what you currently have on your on-prem will be replicated to the database. And if you remember the previous slide, I mentioned that you can move your OS, your what's it called, your application, and also your database using the application migration service. So also, why make use of the application migration service? There's also what we call AWS Migration Hub, whereby you can use to monitor your lift and shift approach. But there are some strategies before, there are some procedures before one can perform the lift and shift approach. First of all, you must do what is called a discovery. Discovery is that you have to discover, you have to install some agents on your on-prem environment that will discover how many of your applications is eligible for lift and shift, because there are some criteria before a server will be made eligible for lift and shift. Maybe the core, or maybe the file system that is being used and all that. But in this documentation, you also find more about this approach. So we also have for the refactor approach. Refactor approach makes use of elastic beanstalk. So elastic beanstalk helps web deployment to be seamless. So it also helps in breaking down the monolithic application into smaller parts, into smaller modular parts. You just need to bring your code and integrate that with the Elastic Beanstalk. So Elastic Beanstalk helps customers or businesses to just focus on writing the code. Once you just write your code maybe on your GitHub, you just push, it will deploy automatically on your code. on your application. So any feature. So it also helps in creating mobile API backends for your application. So Elastic Beanstalk helps that in creating. It also helps in if you want to quickly launch your web application. Since you are not managing the server, it's just like a platform as a service. You are not managing the server infrastructure. You just need to bring your code integrate, and everything will work seamlessly for you. Okay, let's go to the next replatform. For the replatform, which I will be taking on AWS Lambda. AWS Lambda helps you to run your code without thinking about servers or clusters, anything like that. Also similar like um, the Elastic Beanstalk. So AWS Lambda, it's also for AWS Lambda, it also helps in breaking your application from monolithic into smaller microservices. So AWS Lambda, it has a feature whereby for the first 1 million requests in a month, you have it free of charge. If you remember what I said earlier on, AWS Lambda, it also works as can integrate that with Amazon SNS, whereby you just need to it just needs to execute whenever a particular event occurs. So it also helps you to save costs, whereby it doesn't have to run concurrently like 247. It only functions whenever there is a request to it. So it helps to create an event-driven application. It also helps to run interactive web and mobile backends, just like the AWS Elastic Beanstalk. So let's go to the next one for the re-architects. So we have Amazon Container Service, that's the ECS. The ECS service. The ECS service helps you to break down, it makes use of Docker containers as the underlying container infrastructure. And it also helps you to integrate with any CI/CD of your choice to deploy to it. So you can make use of your Jenkins, you can integrate your Jenkins or your GitHub Actions, your Travis CI and all that into the Elastic Container Service. It is it is reliable and scalable. It scales your containers according to specification. So you can also make use of AWS Fargate, which is a serverless solution to manage your ECS. Your ECS where you have your many containers saved there. So one of the use cases of AWS ECS is it helps to deploy a hybrid environment whereby you can integrate your on-prem environment to ECS, and ECS can run anywhere. You can run ECS in your on-prem environment. You just need can run ECS on your on-prem environment and enjoy the services which which AWS offers through ECS on your on-prem environment. It also supports batch processing. So it also supports batch processing whereby you have many workloads that you want to run, many container workloads. So it also helps you in managing and processing and different large quantity of computing workloads. So let me talk a bit about the Fargate, AWS Fargate. AWS Fargate is a serverless compute that we use to manage our container services. So it removes the overhead of scaling, of you checking if you have an updated patch. It also secures the container service and it helps you to manage the underlying server application. So it also has some built-in integrations, like you can integrate Amazon CloudWatch for container insights, whereby you can use to monitor the health of your containers if it's down and all that. You can also integrate it with Amazon ECS and also EKS bots. So Fargate can use to manage ECS and also EKS. That's EKS is Amazon Elastic Container Kubernetes Service. So one of the use cases of AWS Fargate is it helps in the web application. It helps you in deploying web application, integrating your APIs into your environment, Amazon APIs. It also helps in managing microservices. So it's also as you know, it also helps you to reduce costs, as you don't have any upfront payments whenever you are making use of ECS. You can save up to 40% if you use ECS Fargate Spot instance. So you can save 40%. So let's go to the last one, the hybrid. So on the hybrid, we have AWS Outpost and also AWS Direct Connect. So for AWS Direct Connect, you can use that to enable a site-to-site connection, and is also a private, is a very secured means of connecting your on-prem environment to the AWS environment. So you can set up an AWS Direct Connect for easy communication with your on-prem and also your cloud, AWS cloud. So one of the ways you can also take advantage of this AWS Direct Connect after setting up, like we've had some instances whereby a customer, you want to consume an API of maybe a certain, let's say a bank that you need your application to talk to. Maybe you have an application hosted on Amazon Elastic Beanstalk or EC2 instance. You can integrate, once you have a direct connect configured, it will be very easy for you to enable your application to talk to maybe the banking or the on-prem environment, maybe a banking API that I want to talk to on-prem. So we also have AWS Outpost. AWS Outpost is like it brings some of the AWS services to it makes some of the AWS services to run on your on-prem environment. And one of the use cases of AWS Outpost is that it delivers high quality gaming experience for users that have a gaming app that makes use of real-time multiplayer games. And it also allows you for data residency. So data residency in the sense that for some governments or financial sectors, and you want your data to still remain on your on-prem, whereby you also take advantage of AWS cloud services. So you can make use of AWS Outpost to achieve that. It also helps in migration and modernization of your application, whereby you have to make use of some services that is being run on AWS. You have to um, make use of it on your on-prem environment. Okay, some of the use case of, I think I've mentioned some of the use case of the direct connect. So one other use case is, I think that will be all for direct connect. So here are the documentation on how you can also practice that. So we now have the different strategies and how we can also use these services. So for Windows application, let's say some application that you have that is hosted on a Windows application, for the relocate or rehost, which make use of the lift and shift approach. For the replatform, that means you are moving from the VMs, that's from EC2 instances to container managed instances. As you're making use of container service instances like Amazon ECS and Amazon EKS. That's basically what the replatform is all about. For the refactor, factor is going from using .NET to .NET Core, which also helps you to save. You have a license freedom and savings. It also helps you to improve your performance, the performance of your applications. For the example on SQL database, that's moving the relocate, that's moving everything from the on-prem just as it is, that's lift and shift to the cloud. For the replatform, we have whereby you are making use of an SQL instance, maybe installed on an EC2 instance. So yeah, now moving it to a managed server, a managed database like Amazon RDS for SQL Server. So you are no longer being bothered by the bottleneck of patching, the monitoring, scaling, and even backup or maintaining the server where you have your SQL Server hosted. So Amazon takes care of that for you. So for the refactor, so we have an instance whereby you are making use of Amazon RDS for SQL Server. Now, you now want to utilize the high performance and scalability of Amazon Aurora. You move from Amazon RDS to Amazon Aurora for high availability and also reliability. And it also helps you in saving your license. So the key takeaways here for application modernization is for you to remain competitive in today's digital world, you have to always factor in ways in which you can modernize your application. It is inevitable in today's IT world. So even if a business, you do not start from maybe the cloud native approach, like using Elastic Beanstalk, ECS, Fargate, and all that, you can start using an EC2 instance. Then you plan your journey from this point to this point. You have to break down your monolithic architecture to utilize the benefits of microservices. Microservices offers you the approach, it offers you the advantage whereby if anything happens to one part, one service of your microservice, it will not affect the other services. So let's say you have an application whereby let's say the gateway the payment gateway is having an issue. Your application will still be running fine. The only issue that you have to fix with your developers is just the payment gateway. Maybe there is the API for the payment gateway is broken or something like that. Yeah. So it doesn't need to affect your entire application. Your business will still be running. You just need to fix that particular part. But if you are making use of a monolithic application and something like your payment gateway, it totally affects your business. And when you check the lead time to resolve the RTO to resolve such an incident, we see that maybe it probably must have lost some customers. So AWS provides various cloud services and tools to help you and also to support you in your modernization journey. So you can use the strangler approach. The strangler approach is whereby you break up your monolithic application, making use of an API gateway. Let's say you are having an application, a PHP, a LAMP stack application, whereby you have an MySQL. So in the next phase, you can say from month 1 to month 6, from 1 to 6 months, you have to deploy an API gateway. So using the API gateway, you can on the database layer, which makes use of MySQL, you can choose to use Amazon RDS for MySQL. That's what you have achieved for the next month. You just break it down one after the other. So why choose AWS? It's a very simple one. We all know that AWS is globally the #1 in public cloud providers. It is trusted by millions of customers globally. It has comprehensive range of different services and tools in which one can use, and it is highly available, reliable, and top-notch security. It also has extensive partner network to support your cloud journey, like us. Okay, Ayo, think over to you. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Kenneth, for the very apt, explanations for through the slides. Okay, and the clarity too. I think I just got to get something new, especially about the Fargate 10. All right. So, for the metrics, I just wanted to throw a little bit more light as regards these metrics you can see on the screen. Please confirm you can hear me. I mean, audibly. Okay.
Yeah, I can
All
I
right.
can
Thank
hear
you
you
very
from
much.
here.
All right. All right. So there is what we call the metrics where we have, we compare competitors, other partners to ourselves, just to understand how well we are doing in the entire, ecosystem of partnership, providing services to, customers, to business people, to developers, individuals, using cloud solutions. And one thing we realized is that as much as we are willing to, get clients on board on the cloud, we also try our very much best to have project support. And this is something that over the years we've been able to, although it's not too easy, especially when the customer or this client is not really, big company, they may not be able to afford support contracts and all that. And we do end up rendering, those support just to make sure that they are good. I mean, they are comfortable and they keep satisfying their own customers. And there's also what we have, which is flexible payment. We make sure that no customers, experience downtime, issues where, a customer is using an AWS platform and, he runs out of credit, stuffs are shut down and all those, issues, downtime and all that. We make sure we avoid it because we know that as long as you are in business, you will definitely get back up, right? Sometimes people experience losses in business, current, financial downtime. They cannot be able to afford some bills. So we do understand that and we try our best to make sure that, they are good. So that's why we fall under the metrics of high project support and flexibility of payment. That's for the slide you can see here. Also, The question is why partner with us today. Most people will be like, oh, I can do AWS by myself. I have access to the platform, I have my card. Why should I even, partner with an organization, an AWS partner? First things you need to understand is why do AWS need partners in the first place? AWS, as an organization, is not located in all the countries, and as much as we push for them to be visible, they might not be able to fulfill all that. So while we are here, we make sure that we extend that arm of reach to every business. I mean, every little business and every big business, enterprise and small scale. The reason is that way we keep making sure that the benefit that AWS offers, it's accrued to these businesses, right? Some people do not know anyway. They just put their card and they get what they want, goes and they go away, right? There's much more than that to AWS, right? First thing is the 6% discount. I mean, up to that we can get for any individual who decides to use AWS, for instance. And that comes maybe on the monthly invoice as is done, at the end of the month, his resources, which is used, he was invoiced. And then he says, oh, okay, this is what I see. There's possibility for you to have less payment than what you actually spend. Now, the truth is what you spend is actually what you spend. But we have the leverage to be able to give you some of these things to make sure that you are able to keep running your business. There is also um, there is zero downtime payments, zero downtime for late payments. So just like I explained, for instance, where at the end of the month you may not be able to afford that bill at that moment, just reach out via email, say, hey, guys, I would like to pay maybe at the 5th of the next month, and then with that arrangement you're good, and then we can cover up to a reasonable amount and make sure that you are still running your business. There's technical consultation which is supposed to be paid, but there is up to $2,000 worth of technical consultation fee, even quarterly cost reduction costs which we have to make sure that the client is making cost less effective. Some people just keep running on AWS cloud, not knowing that there are things that you could modernize to make sure that your cost does not continue to increase, right? At the end of the 2 years, 3 years, they notice they are going from 1,000 to 10,000 to 150,000, right? But if you are able to understand that there is a benefit for you as being a partner to us, it makes more sense where you get this leveraging the technical competency of the partner. There is also workload migration. If you have any workload and you want to move from another place to AWS, you can get up to $1,000 worth of migration credit, so you don't have to take the initial expense of moving into the cloud. Setting things up might be expensive, so we could help leverage on what we have to make sure that you land safely, I mean softly also. So that's basically how it looks like partnering with us. So I would want to have questions now. If you want to raise your hand, if you want to ask in the chat, it's all open right now. So let's go. Questions about what you've had already from the presenter, and maybe questions around what I've said. Any which of them, you can have now. Floor is open. Okay, the first question, difference between Fargate and Kubernetes. Okay, so Ken, you want to, give him a little bit of understanding on that. The both of them seem very similar to me, so maybe there'll be some differences where he can understand that better. Basically, Fargate is
Okay,
is
yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so basically both of them are for container orchestration and all that on AWS. But they just have a different way of managing Kubernetes. So when you talk about what's it called, EKS and that's EKS, that's what you're referring as Kubernetes, right? So the only difference is that Fargate is serverless, whereby EKS is a managed Kubernetes service, while Fargate is serverless. So on Fargate, you don't need to manage any control plane, any node, and AWS takes care of that for you. But for EKS, you still need to configure and manage your control plane, the worker nodes, and all that. So that's just the distinct difference between them.
Okay, I think that's fair enough. Okay, please, any other question? How it works, if you've tried it. Also, is there anyone who maybe on the call who has, used any form of modernization for, his solution, architecture, business apps, on AWS? Do you want to say anything about it?
Oh, I think the Peter, the person that asked the question wasn't even around when I answered. Hello, Peter, did you hear what I answered? Or should I repeat myself? Hello, Mr. Peter Usman. Are you there? Hello, Peter.
I think he's experiencing network issues because,
Because I just saw that you
yeah,
joined now. I don't know if you actually heard the explanation that I gave. I
yeah,
should
I think
repeat myself. Then maybe I will just have to type it in the chat.
yeah, sure. Okay, so please, is there any other question before we wrap? And I dropped the link. So, like I said, it's something that everyone, anyone on AWS or new to AWS should adopt. Modernization is something that is coming to everyone. If not now, it has to be tomorrow. If not tomorrow, it just has to be what it is. One way or the other, you have to get to modernize your applications. The earlier you begin to modernize, the better. If you are already modernizing, you want to seek, deeper, maybe technical consultations to get that done, applied in your business place. That's still fine, right? The good part is when you partner with us, we have some of our partners who are already on this call, who just join to, learn more. So stuff like this will be happening, more frequent, and as a partner, you get to find, you get to learn more, you get to benefit more. I mean, tutor-led, learning plans and all that comes to you at no cost, no extra cost. So being a partner doesn't mean you have to spend money to be a partner anyway. It's just free, sign up stuff, right? Once you get up, you are running, and then we help you to do one or two things. You can contact us from time to time saying, oh, I have this project, I want to do this, like that. And then we just help you, get that up and running. Someone says, oh, I want to set up my new project I want to set up, and I need one or two things. We could just quickly, help get on the call, review that with you, give you some advices on how you could set it up. Then you go ahead. If you need support assistance at the time, you can still let us know. We help you do all that. So where we get to start benefit from all this is, as a managed partner, like AWS makes sure that we are taken care of. Like, so the services sometimes where we will render something that we have already received from AWS, who they say we need to get this to other people, like other businesses. So we are tasked to get this thing to you, right? So if we can have you, register on the platform, I'll show you the link. It's actually on the screen, but I'll just type it here. Um, I will just type it here so you can learn more. Um, yeah, so you can use that and check on the link, check out the link, get to know more about what we are offering as a partner, and then you get to partner with us and you are good. Once you sign up, if you like what you see there, once you sign up, we'll get your details. We can follow up with you and would definitely want to, be a part of what you are doing currently. We want to see how we can help you, you know, you know, get more done, right? And if you call out to us, once you become a partner, you have an email which you could reach out to at any point in time. You have any issue, we could just come out to your rescue and make sure that you're fine. And we are good. Okay, so thank you everyone for the time, the call. I would like to maybe anyone who wants to do both of things before we close out on this. We are about 21 minutes past our time. We had network issues starting up in the first place. So anyone with both of things, so we could just wrap up now. Okay. I also wanted to quickly ask, I think that the time for this webinar today was clashing with so many of us work time. So we're having another of this event soon. I don't know if you think you have a suggestion for best time, during work days to have this webinar. Can you just drop in the chat maybe a time, except just using West African time, please? I don't know but where you're joining from, but we are here in Lagos, Nigeria. So if you can use West African time to really help, just give a suggestion on maybe a better time to have this event to improve participation, because I notice most people are using the chat to type. Maybe they're in the office or yeah, something like that. So if you have a better time, you can just let us know on the chat, and we will consider that to see how we can work around it to make sure that there is optimal participation, right? Okay, so thank you everyone once again for joining. I appreciate your staying till this time. The link is already in the chat, like I said. Please use the link to indicate your interest for the partner financing. We'll get back to you with more information. Uh, Let us know definitely that, oh, I love this event, how you want us to reach out to you. I mean, basically that would be a better way to kick off from what we have. Modernizing strategies. This is actually the end. Thank you everyone once again, and looking forward to having us all via the link. Thank you.